Alright guys, welcome back to outside of my garage. It was a pretty decent day out today and I was kind of bored, so I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to swap out an opener. As you can see, this is the 3500. This is what has been on the small door for a couple weeks. This thing ran pretty well actually, but I put something else up. The remote I have for it is a 1050. It can only be a couple of my openers. Let's open this up and see what it is. The speed of it should give you an idea. And here's what we have. And if I don't sound very good, I'm a little sick. So, this is the yellow Stanley, model 3220. I figured I'd break away from doing Chamberlains and try something a little bit different on this door. So I decided I'd go with this one. This thing runs really well. Didn't really have a whole lot of trouble getting it up. I did have to, as you can see, do something a little bit different with the back hangs because the Stanley is actually a little bit longer. This is where the 8365 mounting points is, and the ones for the Stanley start like right here. So that's not a huge deal though. I mean, this thing is not going anywhere. So yeah, this is running on its original rail and original chain, or well, maybe, I don't know, I had one changed from one of my Stanleys. We got the other rail over there. This is its original rail though. This one is 4 pieces. Yes, the chain does drag on the door because it's loose, but I wanted to leave it that way because it's better that way. But this is the 4-piece rail, Stanley rail. That is the original trolley. This arm is from my other Stanley, but I figured I'd use a Stanley arm on here. Sorry for that, neighbors walking by think I'm crazy, I don't really care. Original light lens. It's in actually pretty nice shape. I wouldn't necessarily say that these lenses are that rare. However, the older ones with the larger holes in the front are fairly rare. On the bottom here is the clutch adjustment and the limits. Yes, I know I have 2 black knobs. Oops, aim. 2 black knobs. There's supposed to be a black and a white knob, but this works. As long as it works, it's fine. When I set the limits on this, I did the same thing as when I put the other Stanley on the mini door. Is I set the little cam thing right between the 2 contacts, or I set it so that the contacts were right between the 2 cams, and then I decreased the limits to the minimum they would go. And when I put the opener together, all I had to do was put the trolley in the middle, and then I could just plug it in, run it, and just adjust it from there till it was where I wanted it to. Got the limits on it set perfectly well. I have it closing pretty soft on the ground because I don't want to really bend this rail, because we know how these 2 rails can get all flimsy and weird. Over here I hooked up my just the basic garage door control button. The writing I put on is kind of wearing off some. Might need to redo that. Oh yeah, I did put a little release rope on this trolley. It originally didn't have one. Has the appropriate barrel handle, which this would have come with. I'll show you the back on the opener, or of the opener. You've got terminals there and your dip switches. No, I don't care if I show the dip switches. This code is temporary. I'm going to be changing it, but whenever I'm showing something that has dip switches, I'm just going to have my temporary code as whatever, or whenever I'm showing it an opener in a video that I will show the dip switch code, it's going to be, I don't know, it's just going to be something temporary that I'll change it back to this when I take the opener down, but I'm just going to change it to something a little more random, since this is going to be staying up for a little bit. The other thing is, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see in there, focus, you can kind of see we have 2 little prongs there. Now, this opener was made in 1989. The board says 1989, and that was before 1993, so before sensors were required. So what I'm not sure of is, do these 2 prongs make the opener compatible with sensors? I might actually, I think I'm going to try that one of these days, hook up some sensors to this and see if that works, because that'd actually be kind of interesting if it did. And then you can see the information tag on the back here, model 3220. It is a 1/2 horsepower, and it is a 7-tooth sprocket, and that little bolt there is your chain adjustment. So overall, this thing does run pretty well. I think I've been talking for long enough, so let's stand back here and see how it runs. Yes, it does vibrate. That's just the case. It's just back here is loose. There's really nothing I can do about that. Run it back up. Yeah, so it does work. And yes, like I said, the chain does slap and drag on the door some, but I don't really care because I'd rather leave the chain loose and not break the opener. The other thing, as far as the clutch on this thing goes, it is, or at least was to me, a little bit misleading when I was setting it. It says safety sensitivity increase and decrease. Now, I thought when I was going to set the limits on this door, I had the clutch on this thing set pretty light. The clutch on this thing works great, by the way. I'll show you that at the end of the video. But when I was just setting the clutch on this, I thought increase here meant increasing the amount of pressure that's getting put on the door. But come to find out, that actually means increasing the sensitivity, meaning that when you're tightening this towards increase, it's actually increasing the sensitivity on the opener, meaning it's easier to make it reverse. So yeah, a little bit misleading, but I figured it out eventually. So we'll run this again here through the button on the side. The rail does bounce around quite a bit, and I mean, like I said, it's just because of how flimsy these tube rails are. Unfortunate, but I can't do anything about it because I don't have a one-piece rail to work with this. Go back up. So yeah, there's quite a bit of travel in the rail left on this compared to the linear, but it is a 7-foot opener. But for some reason, retail machines tend to be a little bit longer. So I'll show you the clutch on this thing, and it is pretty sensitive. I've got this thing set basically perfectly. Then the lights on the opener flash forever. This one does eventually revert to a slower flash. The other Stanley I have just does the slow flash forever. We'll wait for it to do that. Yeah, there it goes. So yeah, that is and then you just have to run it to make it stop. So yeah, but anyway, that is the Stanley 3220. This thing was pretty fun to install, and it works pretty well. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later.